So hello everyone, this is the sixth part of our episode, the tennis toast. The first one which is in person, I can actually touch these guys now. It's been 2 years, we were having COVID, all of us were working from home, we were working from the place where we live, and all of us get to return now, and I'm so excited about it. Arijit, how are you feeling?
Great.
Arijit is feeling especially great because his favorite player, Kyrgios, is finally in a Wimbledon final. It's crazy times we're living in. Suri, how are you feeling?
Absolutely fantastic. Lovely to be back in in-person meetings and looking forward to talking about tennis.
Yes. So now, last time when we left, we were on the French Open podcast. We had a betting, and after that, since I had to switch the cities, we could not have the last episode, but I actually won all the money, around 600 rupees, because Suri and both Djokovic lost to Rafa, and after that, Carlos Alcaraz lost to Alexander Zverev, and Rafa ended up winning somehow, and I won most of the money. I'm so happy about it. But this time it does seem like Djokovic has a really good amount of chance to win this, and it'll be good crazy if Kyrgios does this. But before we come to that, we must discuss some beautiful match which happened yesterday. So it was Rybakina versus Jabeur. So Suri, did you get to see the match?
Watched bits of it and then got the highlights, but an amazing match. Slightly disappointed that Jabeur lost, but Rybakina, I watched the semi-final that she played, and it's no surprise she's absolutely been ripping the ball on both flanks, and she's been doing an amazing job. So congratulations to Rybakina. It was a lovely match, a three-setter, coming back from down a set to win a final. So one of the better finals that I've seen recently.
Yeah, what I saw was that how it's very reminiscent of the match which Djokovic had with Zverev last year Olympics, where once the serve of Zverev started clicking, he just started winning the match. It was very similar to what happened with Rybakina. So I think I was listening to somebody, or I was seeing somewhere that the numbers literally went 58% first serve in, 62% first serve in, 65% first serve in the third set, and it was just so well connected, and her power, she was able to basically overpower Jabeur completely in the last two sets. Arijit, were you able to see any of the highlights from the match?
I got the closing part of the match, but I am actually awestruck by the fact that how sports has penetrated places to the minds of people, where it would not have ventured. There's so much talk about limiting it to women or to sections of people who would be underrepresented in the sports, and sports finally doing that. It's a great thing for the sport, the human spirit, and that's one great takeaway from yesterday's match.
Yeah, one of the highlights which I saw was how after winning the match, Jabeur actually went ahead, and I think she was the first woman of Arab origin who was able to do that. And so she said Eid Mubarak, and people started clapping because you don't see that on such stages. She's Indonesia and she has been playing very good. I hope she does also gets a deep run in the US Open and the slams that follows, because I think she's number 2 right now in the world. Yeah.
Speaking about Tunisia, haven't they had this 10 years of that Jasmine revolution? I believe that was the place from where the revolution started, and it's a long way, means from where the country was in the downs, and someone coming on this stage and representing the country so well, that speaks a lot about Jabeur's
achievement.
achievement.
Yes. Coming to Rybakina too, so this is a very good way to segue into one of the things which kind of surrounded Wimbledon this year. So Rybakina, her mom is Russian. She was born in Russia. Most of the time she did spend in Russia, and she ends up winning. This is also the edition of Wimbledon where actually the Russian players were banned to play because they did not want to sponsor, they did not want to seem that the Queen is kind of sponsoring the whole Russian kind of conflict which is going on. So Suri, what's your stance on it? It is a little bit controversial, but yeah, what's your stance on Russian player ban in Wimbledon this year?
So firstly, great decision in retrospect to be representing Kazakhstan. So she was able to play the tournament. And coming to the question itself, I think it was complete hypocrisy to not have the Russian players play, as well as I think the Belarusian players weren't allowed, I believe, in this edition of the tournament.
Yeah.
And they say separate sports from politics. And when a sportsman stands up for a cause, they want to separate it. But now, when it comes to them participating or not, you aren't really separating sports from politics.
Exactly.
And for no fault of the sportsman at all.
Exactly.
Just chance that they were born in the country and they can't do anything about it. So, absolutely bad decision from Wimbledon. I have no sympathy for that.
Yeah, like pretty much same, because if you see, when the war started, two of the players who actually posted against the war were Andrei Rublev and Medvedev. So Medvedev had this speech which he gave after Australian Open, which was about Medvedev being the little kid and then growing up. And one of the Instagram posts was that no little kid's dream should, get wasted because of a war. And that's a stance which is very difficult to take against your country, and these people actually did that and they still get to suffer. So I also did find that this should not have happened at the Wimbledon stage, but then it did happen. Also, byproduct of it was that no points being counted. So even if Kyrgios wins it, he's not making top 10. What's your thing about that?
Okay.
Kyrgios will never be top 10 basically.
Okay, so I am here because last time Agniv was having this discussion and he mentioned that he actually laughed at Kyrgios when Kyrgios announced himself as the greatest player on tennis. And I've been a Kyrgios fan for about 7 years now, and I love the way he goes about the court, irrespective of the wrongs he does or the rights he does, because he simply believes in himself. And at that point, I thought it was a kind of an affront that you were making that remark about Kyrgios. It does not matter. I think Kyrgios has gone beyond that phase where he wants rankings, he wants to be the number one player and all that. He is there because he believes in himself, and that is what he's trying to prove.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I also now kind of get Kyrgios what he is going for. Like, he's very proud of the fact that he's like number 40. He still comes out, and top 10 players are genuinely scared of facing Kyrgios. Like, he can serve you out on any good day which he's having. Now with this, again, a good segue to something which happened in this year's Wimbledon. Somebody was called a bully, the guy being Kyrgios. Kyrgios was called a bully, and that match happened. So it was between Tsitsipas and Kyrgios. So Suri, like, who do you think was wrong in the match? Do you think Kyrgios was wrong for doing what he did, or like Tsitsipas was overreacting?
First of all, the headline should have read Tsitsipas a crybaby, not Kyrgios a bully. That's pretty much how I see that situation. Now look, Kyrgios is not like the other players typically in tennis, getting into people's head and not like cricket where you can sledge and get into people's head. Maybe Kyrgios does a little bit of it, but in tennis, you have your own way of doing that. For example, this might be an unpopular opinion, but Nadal makes you wait.
Yeah.
He makes you wait, and in my opinion, sometimes he takes it a little too far, and you can also call that getting into people's head. So, depends on how you do it. Kyrgios is cut from a different cloth, like he actually said. So, I don't really see a big issue, and for all Tsitsipas has been saying, it was his behavior that was found wanting and not Kyrgios in that particular match. So, yeah, I stand by that.
Yes, one more thing about Kyrgios and Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas is Greek. Kyrgios is from Greek origin, half Greek. But I think my money is on Kyrgios chiefly because we know of a certain Greek origin player in the 90s. He was very popular, Pete Sampras, and he used to win. So I think Greek origin players will have it easy in a Wimbledon final. Like, it's a little absurd.
But actually, to tell you the truth, talking about Greek origin Australians, the last unseeded player with such a high ranking who made the final was Mark Philippoussis, who was also of Greek origin and Aussie. So, looking back at that final, it didn't really go down well for him.
Yes.
But I hope this time.
And there's one more thing about Kyrgios. Like, he's a Boston Celtics fan, and these people are known to be bullies. But their dedication is something I admire. The team Boston Celtics as well as Kyrgios.
Okay. Arijit really wants Kyrgios to win.
Yes.
If
My money is on Kyrgios.
Yeah, if he loses, I'm gonna hug him. As it happens sometimes. But
and
yeah,
if he does not lose, I will hug you.
Yeah. I really don't mind. I'm just in for all the fun which is gonna happen in the finals. But yeah, like I also completely agree that all the players, I think the only person who kind of doesn't have it is Roger Federer. Otherwise, Djokovic has this where he'll take sometimes timeouts, and he's also agreed that he does it. Rafa definitely makes you wait, especially in the Taylor Fritz match. Even when Taylor Fritz was serving, there were many instances where he would just raise his racket and be like, "Hey, wait for some time." I know he was injured, but yeah, that's kind of a strategy going there. So yeah, Rafa also has done that, but that's what like Kyrgios' strategy is. That's one of the fun which Kyrgios match is, that he just gets into your head. He was able to do it with Rafa in 2019 Acapulco, I guess, where again a few words were exchanged, and then they had a little bit of rivalry which kind of got resolved in Australian Open. And one of the guys who really won my respect was Dominic Thiem. That was also because of a match with Kyrgios. So second set, Kyrgios is going to win it. Is the set point. Kyrgios underarm serves him. Dominic Thiem is not able to get the ball back.
Yes.
Suddenly people are hooting. They're whistling at him. They're making fun of him. Dominic Thiem keeps his cool, wins the next 3 sets, wins the match. At the end of the match, he says, "Great crowd, I loved you all." Gets the crowd on his side. And I think that is the level of mentality which you need if you're going against Kyrgios. Most of the matches, because he likes to get the crowd involved. He likes to, so it's just very unfortunate for everybody who doesn't know. Tsitsipas actually ended up shooting a ball into the crowd. It missed somebody by like literally like inches, and he could have been disqualified. Later on, he fired 2-3 balls at Kyrgios. So yeah, it was a complete meltdown by Tsitsipas, and towards the end, he ended up calling that Kyrgios caused this because he created this such a bullying environment, and that's why he overreacted. Which I think it's just not done. Like every person does this. Even Tsitsipas is famous for taking toilet breaks. There was a huge controversy last year. So if he doesn't like take a stance there, he doesn't get to call that. Now again, that's our stance, I will say, but that's not what goes. Now, coming to another kind of controversy, it's not a controversy for me per se, is Rafael Nadal mentioning his injuries. Now, there's something been going on that people say that Rafael Nadal, when he mentions his injury, he's kind of downplaying the opponents of their ability, that see, they cannot even beat this injured guy. So Suri, do you think that Rafael Nadal should mention his injury, or like what's your take on it?
Very tough question, and I might have an unpopular opinion. So
Okay.
All unpopular opinion about Nadal is coming from there.
So see, nothing to take away from Nadal, greatest competitor ever, works real hard, and you can't really say anything, and that's probably what he has on his side. And these things, you don't have evidence to prove it. So
Yeah.
it's your word against mine, and it's just something that people want to talk about. But Nadal can't care any less about it. He's won 22 Grand Slams. He's the greatest player here. But personally, if you ask me, and if I have to give you an opinion, I sometimes feel it's not about bringing up injuries, and I mean, players should be stronger than getting distracted if somebody mentions an injury. But I feel that even when Stan won at the Australian Open, and I think it was the Australian Open, it always feels that you never beat a fully fit Nadal.
Okay.
There's always some niggle that he's carrying if he's beaten in a big match, except the big Federer games or Federer matches. So, for that reason, again, like I said, unpopular opinion, sometimes I feel, he does talk about it a little too much, but you can't really say anything against him, and Nadal's really good. I mean, I like the player, but sometimes I feel it's a little borderline,
Okay. So I think this is the first time that we are going to have kind of a differing opinion here, because what I feel is that so there have been matches, for example, Nadal against Fognini when he lost 2 sets to up, or Nadal against Tsitsipas 2 sets to up, Australian Open last year, I guess, 2021. No, 2021 or 2020.
Was this at Home Masters?
No, like it was Australian Open semi-finals. I think it's 2021. Yeah, it was 2021. Medvedev went on to defeat Tsitsipas, and then Medvedev lost to Djokovic in straight sets, pretty much. So, like, even then, like, he kind of agreed that he had. And what I feel is that since he has been injured for a long time, he cannot help but mention it. As like sometimes when you are going through it each and every day. For example, I have this back injury. Fine, and it just kind of creeps into every conversations, because sometimes I just want people to be like, oh, like you just want to share that I'm going through this, I don't know why I'm going through this. So maybe that's what's happening there. So That's what my
Fair
take.
enough.
Yeah, that's what my take on this issue is, that once you have that in your life, maybe it just comes out. It's like this boiling pot which is always coming out. But before I get on further with it, there's a problem which I have noticed, which I think is very pronounced right now, and that is next gen completely failing on grass. I don't get it why it's happening, but all of them, like except Berrettini, nobody is even like having good performances marginally. Medvedev crashes out most of the times. He loses matches which he shouldn't lose. He lost against a guy who was having his first ATP tournament this year, Tim van Rijthoven. So why do you think that is happening? Why do you think next gen is not? Even when like indoor surfaces, they pretty much have as much as pace on the ball as the grass has. I think the only thing is that grass movement is not that easy. But apart from that, what do you think might be a factor? Arijit, do you want to go?
There's a poem by Walt Whitman. The child asks, "What is the grass?" So the children, the younger generation, they don't know what is the grass. Why is
Great way to put it.
I believe they would have to go approach specialists like a Goran Ivanisevic, Leander Pace, to know what the surface is all about. So I think they have to approach the masters of the game to learn about what the grass requires. And if there has been a lot of changes or modifications in the grass courts itself, the surface itself, that is something they have to work it out with experts, specialists and analysts is what I believe. Suri, over to you.
Yeah, so couple of things. Firstly, the grass season is really small as compared to the hard court and the clay court season. And this is not very different from the past. Even before, it was just Wimbledon and the warm-up tournaments to Wimbledon like Queens, Halle, etc. But the thing is, the grass itself has changed. It's not as quick. That is one thing. So mostly baseliners who play well on indoor courts, like you were saying, they are tending to do well on grass. The servant volley has disappeared per se. But the movement, that has not changed. You still have to move a certain way on grass, and since you're not accustomed to moving that way on grass, for example, Sinner, he is a really good player, but this tournament he did really well. He improved through every match on his movement, but he keeps slipping every time. So there is a way you need to move on grass. Even Djokovic never mastered it earlier on, and then he eventually mastered it. So there are certain few differences. The bounce is much lower. It's very, very low.
Very
So
flat,
even the slice is something that you can use more often, and that's not something people use as often on the hard courts. So I think it's just a lack of exposure, and like Arijit was saying, we'll have to, talk to the experts or work with them to even know how to play on grass. So always a challenging surface.
Tell them what is the grass.
Exactly, tell them what's the grass. Because this is a phenomenon which I noticed common across WTA and ATP. Every year it's like a new champion coming up. Last year it was Emma Raducanu who just went deep and then she had a panic attack, but yeah, that's another story. But the thing is that people they've not been able to adapt to grass at all. Most of them, if you see, they've not been able to even make grass semi-finals. People like Tsitsipas, he has never been able to do that. Medvedev has not been able to do that. Last year was a great chance where he could have done it. So I think the only next gen which you can have even a slimmer of hope is Berrettini, who got out with COVID this year. COVID had its own play in this year's Wimbledon. Cilic was out, Berrettini was out. I think also 2-3 other players, they had to get out because of COVID. So yeah, which also helped Arijit's favourite person to reach because he got a relatively easy draw. But before we mention the final big question about the match which is coming up, I have one more question to go, which is what was your favourite match so far? Both WTA and ATP. So, Suri.
Quite a few matches actually, but I would go with the Nadal-Fritz match.
Yeah.
And I think most people would agree that it was probably one of the most evenly contested matches, a lot of physicality. I actually thought Fritz was going to win. He had a lot of chances to do so. And if you've looked at Fritz this year, he's played really well. He's improved and improved. And I think he has a chance at Wimbledon. Big serve, which is always good on grass. So that's the pick of the matches for me.
Okay. For me, if I have to say, it's one of Suri's favourite players, Serena Williams versus Harmony Tan. What I really did feel was that Harmony Tan irritated Serena Williams. Like, if it would have been a more baseline player, it was easier for her, but Harmony Tan just moonballed her completely through the match. She was taking the pace off the ball, calling Serena to get onto the offensive, and then Serena was making unforced errors. If you see the last set try, she was 4-0 up. After that, at least 4 to 5 unforced errors. Similar stuff where she's just making her hit that shot. Sometimes she tries to go for a drop shot, but she's not decisive enough. And the lack of practice showed. But as Suri also said, that I'm also very excited for Serena Williams' upcoming US tour if she plays every match. That will be insanely good. Arijit, favorite match?
I think the favorite match in the women's tour would be the finals because both the players it was even Stevens until in the third round when the Kazakh she played her game. She totally knew what are her strengths and played according to it. In the men draw, it would be all the matches involving Kyrgios. But I particularly liked him in the quarterfinals where he came against. He was playing. Garen. It was in straight sets, but I thought like a person of the stature of Kyrgios, he tries to whenever he moves in the higher rounds and towards the championship, he tries to means like your emotions are always there that he will win, but then he disappoints you, and he has done it for 7 straight years for me. So this time I was expecting this is going to happen, but it did not. I was so glad that it did not. And by that time, I started telling people, we are going to have a new Wimbledon champion. And let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
Now, Arijit, since he has given such a good transition for us. Look at his excitement. Oh my god. Look at his face. So, the finals which are coming up this evening, Djokovic versus Kyrgios. So, Suri, who do you think is going to win? And why do you think it is Djokovic?
Okay, so various things here. Who do I think logically is going to win is Djokovic? Who do I have my money on? Kyrgios. What is the best play out there? Anything over 3 sets. So I've given you all the answers that you want. But just going a little deeper, actually Kyrgios has a 2-0 head-to-head against Djokovic.
Yeah.
So 2017 was a 2-time, he did the double, right? The Sunshine double, I think, or Acapulco and Indian Wells, I think he beat him in straight sets. But that was a different time, 3-set matches, and this is big time Djokovic, Grand Slam final, it's a completely different story. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere like that. If Kyrgios has to win, it has to be in 5. That's what I think. Would love Kyrgios to win, but I still think Djokovic is going to edge it because sometime, someplace, Kyrgios is going to lose his head. And so Djokovic is going to just drive home the advantage in that. I think it's Djokovic.
What I think, like you said, 5 sets. My take is Kyrgios' best way to win this match is 3 sets. Because you cannot compete physically with Djokovic, especially Kyrgios cannot. He doesn't have that level of stamina and fitness. So I think if it's like Medvedev did it in US Open, if he did not end it there at the 3rd set when Djokovic was making his comeback, I was pretty sure most probably Medvedev would not have made it. Because Djokovic has this thing that once he gets his rhythm, he's impossible to beat. You saw this against Sinner. I've also seen this against several other matches. So before I give my complete take, the guy was really excited. So Arijit,
even I think Djokovic is the favorite. Come on, let's be serious about it because he has that Grand Slam finals experience and he has won it over 20 times. And I know he won't be taking any contender easily. We saw what he did in the semi-finals. He just blasted out his opponent. So he's not going to leave it easy or allow people to win 2 sets and then let them take it easy. Djokovic is the favorite, but Kyrgios
is your heart.
Love of the Mavericks. We love Mavericks. We need characters in sports, and Kyrgios is the perfect person to be there.
Yeah.
Even Djokovic is also a character of his own. Given the drama he has given us this 1 year.
Yeah, we need characters in sports. I think one of the guys who really reminds you of Kyrgios is a guy who is a very good commentator now, John McEnroe.
Oh,
yeah. So you've seen John McEnroe before. Do you think there are very similarities to the game, or is it just limited to those people shouting?
Firstly,
You know what
not that old. Secondly,
no, you've been watching that man, come on.
but yes, I watched a lot of McEnroe games, also Jimmy Connors.
Mhm.
Both of them great characters. But yeah, if you want to compare, people are going to say McEnroe has something to show.
Mhm.
Kyrgios doesn't yet have a Grand Slam to show for it. But yeah, always wearing your heart on your sleeve. Those are the characters you love. Those are the characters you remember. I know it's not about. I mean, people talk about the trophies, but
Mhm.
yeah, Kyrgios has always been a player I like, and also because he speaks his mind
Mhm.
without holding back.
Mhm.
And I think tennis players over a period of time have just pleased the media and they know
Yeah.
how to behave. So for all those reasons, I think
Yeah.
we need people like Kyrgios in the game.
I think this is known as the Federer phenomena. I always call it that because Federer is like this media darling. He has that even this year when he like kind of made the comeback, he had like the perfectly combed hair. He was looking so good in that suit. And you just look at him, you're like, this guy is so marketable. He's like an Instagram model right there, and he's been able to do that. He's been able to play the media. Now, if it comes to my pick, yes, I do feel Djokovic is going to do it. I also do feel that it's going to be 4 sets. One set I'm giving to Kyrgios because of his good serve, and also Djokovic recently has a problem where he starts very slow. So we saw it with Sinner, we saw it with Cam Norrie, and also like in the other matches, in the initial he's trying to find his form. Also he knows how big this stage is. I think he will be valuing this slam much more because he might not get to play US Open. As of now, he cannot play it.
Correct.
So this is like his only chance this year to also, I think there's some rule that for the ATP finals you either need a slam or you need the points. So in order to make that the ATP finals he needs this slam. So I also like everything like coming into play. I do feel that it's Djokovic's best chance. He's going to give it his all. About Kyrgios, this will be a victory which I think if Kyrgios wins this, for me he'll trump or almost equal Rafael Nadal's victory at Australian Open this year. It's very similar story. Nobody was expecting this coming into this Grand Slam. It's the funniest story of 2022 that in a single Grand Slam where they did not have any point, it did not matter at all, Kyrgios went ahead and won it. It's like his life being put on into this Grand Slam story. No points, people have been banned, people have fallen down through COVID. This is how Kyrgios' life is like completely burning and he just comes out victorious. I just feel it personifies what Kyrgios is. So excited for the match. We won't be placing best this time because we were not able to follow it up with next time. But fine. Before we go, one final question. How many sets do you think?
4.
4.
4 Djokovic.
Closely contested or?
Closely contested because of Kyrgios' serve. I think there will be a tie break for sure.
4 Kyrgios.
4 Kyrgios. Okay. I will also go with 4 Djokovic, with like the last set being not a contest at all. I think like it's either the first set Kyrgios or third set Kyrgios, and then last set is going to be Djokovic last
vintage.
off. Yeah, and then he just falls down, raises his arms, wins Wimbledon once again. One Wimbledon away from the Federer record. I think Djokovic has this one thing where he just wants to piss off Federer by taking all his records.
Both him and his father. So.
Yeah. So with this, we come to the end of the first ever in-person edition of this podcast and the 6th episode overall. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We enjoyed it a lot. I loved meeting these guys. First time we also had differing opinions on something. That was something completely new. Otherwise, you all were very agreeable people. You were like, as bol raha hai to theek hi hoga. Maan lete hain. So thank you so much for joining in. We'll catch up next time.